What's going on, Wolfpack? Today we are talking about some actual werewolves in this game, which is Mythic Mischief Volume 2. Okay, now today's video is not sponsored, but I was given this prototype for review by Ivy Studios. So with that said, I'm going to give you a lightning, detailed, super quick breakdown, and we'll dive straight into my thoughts. Now, Mythic Mischief is an abstract game where you're playing as an asymmetric faction, but everyone has the same core mechanic. Ultimately, you move an enemy, you move a wall, or you distract the groundskeeper to move towards you. You spend these dice as action points on your turn, and then after you have no more actions, the groundskeeper is actually going to move towards a specific space on your map. If any students are in his way, they're going to get caught, and then the other team is going to score a point. So your goal in this game is to not get caught, but set up the other team, that way they get caught instead. Now, if you want a more fully detailed breakdown talking about each individual faction, I highly recommend you check out Sam's video, which I'll link right here and right here. He does a beautiful overview of all of them, and I highly recommend you check that out first. I'm going to tell you what I like and what I don't like about this game. So Mythic Mischief, it's a very, very thinky, puzzly game because it makes you think really, really hard about your turn, and I absolutely love that. My favorite thing about this game is this constant tug of war that you're playing. My least favorite part about this game is actually the gargoyle's ability. So check this out. The gnomes, they can bypass through walls, and that's really helpful because the hedges here play a huge part in the game. So them being able to just bypass through them, awesome. The werewolves get to bounce people around the map. The fairies switch the boss with another miniature, which is prime time because you can almost always plan it out that you score a point guaranteed with their ability. And being able to turn yourself into stone in one single space is so easily avoidable that it pretty much doesn't even affect any other team. And I've seen this play across, so I played this game 5 times already, 2, 3, 4 player count. And across every single game that we had, no one really enjoyed the gargoyles because they were so underwhelming. I totally get it. The gargoyles ability is completely on theme here, but I feel like their ability specifically really needs a power up to compete with the other 3 factions, like maybe making a stone wall or turning other people into stone. That idea alone makes it so much more interesting than turning yourself into stone and just being in like one single square. Now, more generally speaking, what you should take note of is that this game invites analysis paralysis if you're playing with a team of 4. Reason why is because, like, check this, right? You have 4 actions you can take on your turn. Each of those actions plus your legendary ability, if you're playing with that, also has individual points that you can use to allocate throughout this map and on your turn with multiple characters, okay? Now you're gonna take all that into consideration, double it when you're playing with a team, because now you have twice the amount of everything to do. Especially since you're gonna be consulting and talking it out with your partner, I highly recommend you house rule it. If you ever end up playing this game at a 4-player account, definitely house rule it to make it like a 1 minute max per turn, because if not, it's going to take forever to go. And that right there is ingrained into the game because it's a reactionary game. So you really can't do anything on your turn until the other team makes their move, because they're going to change around the hedges. They're going to change around the whole map. They're going to be moving your pieces around. Some of your pieces are going to get caught and taken out for the map during this time. So there's no way that you can kind of pre-plan and figure out what you're going to do. Bottom line, it's a reactionary game, so you can't do anything until you see what the other team does first. But aside from the gargoyle's legendary ability, and aside from the waiting time that you have in a 4-player game, I really do enjoy this game because it really fills in a gap that's totally different from any other game in my collection. Like, I would easily warm up with this game for game night. The reason why is because it's fun to get everyone involved, bringing in all of their unique abilities into the game together in this small, tiny map. The core of the game is very simple, but it gets complicated when everyone's abilities come into play all together. It's super quick to table and teach, and the best part about this game, honestly, is the fact that it's a let's run that back type of game. So because the game has that chess-like mechanic, because it's so reactionary, because it has that I'm gonna outdo you with every single turn, it makes you want to just run it back and play again and again. So the replayability here is very high. Okay, ultimate question of the day, should you back Mythic Mischief Volume 2? Well, if you're looking for a 2-player abstract game, if you like that chess checkers like feel to a game, then I'd back this game in a heartbeat because it fills in that niche easily. I think this game plays way better at 2 than it does at 3 or 4, and not only because of like how long it takes per turn, but also in a 3 to 4 player game, you actually have less things to do. You have less resources because there are less tomes on the map. There are also less boosting. There's one less space that you boost, and there's also one less mini that you use on the map too. And it makes sense because it's trying to scale up to 4 players, so therefore everything else is less on the map. That way it's not too cluttered. So because of that, the pacing and how you evolve your abilities is much slower in a 3 to 4 player game versus in a 2-player game. And that's why I love this one way more at 2. Honestly though, in our very first run of the game, we actually did 1v1, v1v1, totally by accident because I totally missed that this was a team-based game. And I honestly thought it worked out pretty fine. So I feel like a free-for-all mode would completely change this game around and make it so much more fun. I feel like it's a very, very viable thing to do, to have a complete free-for-all, and it would really open up the doors to make like everyone come out of the gate swinging, and it would be so much fun. And lastly, this is my very first entry into the Mythic Mischief series. I haven't played Volume 1 just yet, but if you have Volume 1 and you're interested in Volume 2, and Volume 1 is the keeper for you, and you already love Volume 1, then I would easily recommend Mythic Mischief Volume 2, because you're just gonna double up on the variability that you have already, because you get 4 more factions. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed today's review and found it helpful. If you made it here to the very end, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And let me know down in the comments below which one of these factions you would play. I think out of the 4 for sure, the fairies are so OP. Definitely my favorite faction, despite the werewolves actually being present in the game. So despite the wolf pack being here, the fairies are really, really fun in this game. And the legendary ability is completely broken. So broken. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.